When I was 12 years old, I joined a local wrestling team. I had never wrestled before, so I had to buy the headgear, the tights. I went to the local school and did the weigh-in where you determine what weight class you were going to be wrestling in. And I remember my first tournament standing there in line next to the kid that I was going to be wrestling against. You have to wait in line to wrestle next to your opponent. So imagine having to make small talk and, hey, how you doing? How long have you been wrestling? And this kid was very serious. He was giving me very short answers to my questions, and I was really nervous. So much so that I don't even really remember the match, other than I lost really quickly. And it was really hard. The next match, I remember also being really nervous. And I look over at my opponent, and he's getting ready. I think his parents are kind of hyping him up, giving him a massage. And I was standing next to my dad, and my dad probably recognized that I was getting nervous. And he looked me right in the eyes and he said, Matt, you can beat this kid. And I was losing most of the match, and in the last round, I went for it and I pinned him. Boom. Game over. I won. And it was this amazing feeling, and it really started with my dad giving me the belief that I could do it. This story reminds me of the story that we're going to be talking about this week, which is the story of Jesus walking on the water with his disciples. I'm assuming a lot of us have heard this story before. So the setting is they're on a boat. Jesus' disciples, late at night, probably about 3 a.m., somewhere in there. So it's pitch black. There's a lot of wind, waves, and they're on this boat in the middle of a large lake. Jesus had gone off by himself, but eventually he comes back and starts walking on the water to their boat. At first, the disciples, they don't understand who it is. They think it's a ghost. And eventually they start to think, is this Jesus? It might actually be Jesus walking on the water. They had seen some crazy things. So Peter invites Jesus to ask him to come out and walk on the water with him. He said, if it's you, tell me to come walk on the water with you. And Jesus says, come. One word. Come. Peter gets out of the boat. He starts walking towards Jesus on the water. This must have looked insane to the disciples. And eventually, Peter looks away. He gets distracted. He gets afraid. He gets discouraged. He sees the wind and he begins to sink. And he says, Lord, help me. What a really interesting moment there. He calls Jesus Lord. He knows who Jesus is. He believes. And he still doubts. It's like we talked about last week with the dad who said, I believe, help my unbelief. So anyway, Jesus lifts him out of the water and back into safety. And they're back in the boat, and Jesus says, you of little faith, why did you doubt? And I think it's really easy to read this text as if Jesus is yelling at Peter, like, hey, what are you doing? Why, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Like he's this mean history teacher. But I wonder if what Jesus was saying to Peter was coming from a place of so much love and so much affection. Like, why did you doubt? You have seen me heal the blind. You have seen me raise up people that can't walk. You've seen me raise up the dead. Why did you doubt? You've been with me this whole time. I know you can do this. You've got this. It reminds me of my dad telling me, hey, you can beat this kid. Why are you doubting? Because you can believe and still have doubt at the same time. Peter's faith was stronger even than he knew. He had the faith to walk, and he even showed that he could. So he was doubting something that he was already doing, which is a really interesting concept to think about. A couple key points I want to take from us, and then I'll close with a question. Number one, doubt is totally normal. As we discussed last week, even for people who believe, even for people that have been walking with Jesus and have seen the miracles that he has performed, they still doubt it. And so it's no secret why we still doubt today. And number two, our faith is stronger than we even think it is. By having faith in Jesus, we have the capability, we have the same Holy Spirit that performed all of these miracles, that healed the blind. We have that same Spirit inside of us. And so the faith that we have is really powerful. So the questions I want to ask you, number one, what is God calling you to do? You know, for me, it was wrestling when I was a middle schooler, and a wrestling meet. Maybe it's sports. Maybe it is performance. Maybe it is God is calling you to be present as a brother or sister, son or daughter, or to be a good student as you wrap up the year. And number two, where is God calling you to increase your faith? How and where is God maybe asking you and nudging you today? Trust me, you can do this. I have got control. Thanks for watching, and looking forward to discussing this with all of you.